Hello and welcome to the longest day of life in my experience. Our story begins in Michigan. Me and my partner were visiting our families. The story actually officially begins on our travels back to the West Coast. A dark Uber at like 4 in the morning. We're on our way to the airport. We're tired. LEDs and streetlights are blasting in our faces. In the second hour, we get to the airport and there's lines as far as the eye can see. But luckily, extremely nice airport worker says, all of you that are on this flight, come with me. I'll get you to your flight on time. But then an extremely short, extremely bald man says, no, you actually can't come this way. And we get scared that we're going to miss our flight because we're running out of time. This Lego airport worker makes this guy just disappear. He goes away and somehow we get past him. We get to our gate and we're on our flight. In about the 4th hour, I wake up from a little bit of a nap and I'm spilling coffee all over my partner's lap on accident with my head as I adjust as I'm waking up. She's super pissed. Everything sucks. But at least we get back to the West Coast unscathed, so we get on the Link train and we're off. In the 8th hour, we're in downtown Seattle and we have to run across town to get to the ferry terminal. We're running through downtown Seattle. We're trying to make this ferry. And then the unthinkable happens. Our luggage spills and opens up all over the street. Grab our clothes and put them back in the luggage frantically. Just that moment, it feels like we live in a luggage world. Luggage is all that there is and all that there ever will be. Luggage has a complete grip on your psyche and it'll rip your psyche up into a million pieces at a moment's notice. Luggage world, and luggage people and luggage everything. But then we get to the ferry and we're off, and it's feeling awesome. It feels like Pirates of the Caribbean on this ferry, and also even more awesome, Fairy Pretzel, Fairy Pretzel, Fairy Pretzel, Fairy Pretzel, Fairy Pretzel, Fairy Pretzel, Fairy Pretzels, spinning ferry pretzel. Then we get to the Bainbridge ferry terminal and we actually have to bus to where we are off of Bainbridge Island. 30-minute bus ride. But then we miss the bus and we're devastated. We have to wait 45 minutes for the next bus, or the entire length of a Ghost Adventures episode. And this is the 10th hour, mind you, so 45 more minutes feels like an eternity. But then our bus comes. And we're off. But then when we get back to the bus stop near our house, we're still a mile away with busted luggage. We don't want to have to walk all the way home with the busted luggage. There's no Uber and no Lyft at this place. So we have no way to just quickly get home. This is the 11th hour. We're so tired. We're so ready to just go home and nap and be done for the day. I just say, okay, I'll just walk along the highway to our house. So I start walking along the highway. It's going okay. So just to recap at this point, planes, trains, automobiles, ferries. Now I'm walking. So once I'm in my neighborhood, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this shortcut just to make this a little bit shorter, just to finally end this day. The shortcut actually goes by some construction sites that I kind of forgot about because they had recently sprung up. I just didn't really think about them impeding the shortcut. But when I get close to my house, I realize that there's not only one fence, but there's 2 fences. I don't want to backtrack. I just want to get home at this point. So I'm like, oh, I've climbed a fence or 2 in my day. Getting over this fence, I start crawling over it, and I'm trying to be really careful. I haven't done this in a few years. And you know those things at the top of the fence that sometimes are a little like janky and like a little jagged and a little scary? I'm really trying to be careful around those. I'm really just trying to make sure none of my clothes or anything gets stuck on them and, gets ripped and like I get, dangle from the fence or something. I'm really just trying to be careful around them, But then my finger just slices open on one of them as I fall down. Like the entirety of my finger from base to tip. The entirety of my finger is sliced open and is spewing blood every single direction. I'm freaking out. I'm in between these 2 fences. One more fence to go. I'm bleeding out everywhere. It's the 11.5th hour, bleeding in between these 2 fences. And I'm not going to go back over the fence. I'm going to go over the fence closer to my house. I have to climb one of them. So I start climbing this fence. I actually do pretty good at the second fence. I make it over the second fence. Amazing news. So I have to run through just some foliage and then I'm at my house. Question: what could possibly make all of this worse? So I'm running through the foliage when suddenly, unbeknownst to me, is a hornet's nest on the ground. I step on the hornet's nest. All of a sudden, tons of hornets are following me and stinging me, and it hurts super bad, and I'm still bleeding out from my fingers. So I finally get into my kitchen, and I'm bleeding all over my kitchen sink. It is grody. Speaking of kitchen sink, you should come to Kitchen Sink Comedy. It's 7:30. The Rendezvous in Seattle. Should go. So I start racing to my partner, totally thinking she's about to go home and just rest, and I tell her we have to go to the hospital because I'm bleeding out. So in the 12th hour, we're in the emergency room, which actually feels a ton like the DMV. Exact same vibe, except in this DMV, if your finger is split open, you get to the front of the line. My finger's bleeding all over the DMV hospital. So this is a little bit of an aftermath. Here's a photo of me. As you can see, I'm wearing the shirt that I wore that day that I sustained these injuries. Ian and Emma spent the next 5 hours in the emergency room for a total of a 17-hour travel day. Ian got 20 stitches in his right index finger. The doctor said that Ian is lucky to have such thick fingers because it could have been a lot worse if he didn't have such thick fingers. Seriously, she brought the thick fingers thing up like a lot. Like she kept saying it. That is the story of the longest day of life in my experience and how a shortcut turned into a long cut on my finger. Finn. Grr.